He came, he saw, and he scored. Benfica's new boy, Marcos Leonardo, is already on the score sheet with very few minutes. But all of a sudden, here comes Cabral. What an exciting performance against Braga. We got that, plus a few recaps and much, much more. Now, every night. I screwed that up, Dave. See you later, guys.
Hasta que no estás aquí dentro no sabes la grandeza de este equipo.
Quero o Benfica intimidar o adversário. Quero o manto sagrado entrar com vocês em qualquer estado e assustá-los, pá! É isso que eu quero!
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Talking to the Doll Benfica podcast. My name is Alfredo Fumacic. With you, as always, every Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on what's going on with the games, bringing you the latest and greatest in Benfica land. Thank you very much for checking us out, for your support, for listening. For the Freddies, they're already on the chat there. We appreciate it. Dave, what's happening, brother? How you been?
What's going on, Alfredo? What's going on, Freddy's? Good to be back on this. Got a couple of games to recap. On the score sheet, looks all bright and positive, but anybody that sat through those games and watched it, it was not really reflective of what the scoreline shows, but we'll get into that and review Boavista as well.
Yeah, let me say hello to the Freddies, Mike Madeira, Josh Almeida, Eller Paiva, Chico Marcelino, Davey D, E. Mello, Davey N. Dave D, that's you.
That's me. It's already smash the like button.
Smash the like button. Diogo Reis, Nuno M, Kevin Martins, Deltashka. What's happening, everybody? Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Tuesday evening, as it is podcast night. Dave, we had a little bit of some snow here up in the New Jersey area, but nothing too crazy. 2 to 3 inches, which is really frozen up quick. It's nothing but ice out there now, and I think the temperatures will remain below freezing for the rest of the week here. How's everything in your neck of the woods?
Same here. Not too much snow. It's very cold though. I think they call it a polar vortex.
Polar vortex.
Neck of the woods. We didn't get the snow that Buffalo got. I don't know if you saw the Bills game there last night, but we avoided that. But we've got the cold for sure here in our neck of the woods.
Yeah. Now look, it's January. What do you expect? We're in winter season, unless you live below the equator line. Then you got the seasons reversed. But here for us, it's cold. But anyway, here we are. We'll have we'll recap the Braga game for the Portuguese Cup, the Rio Ave game, which was the last game of the first round, and we'll also look ahead to Boavista, which is Benfica's first game of the season, which I had the pleasure of being at in the first round. Now Boavista will travel to Estádio da Luz to play Benfica in a game where Benfica hopes to set the record straight and get payback. Boavista for the one. I think do we only have one loss all season, Dave? So far
in the Portuguese league, that's correct.
And that was at the hands of Boavista. So we're looking to set that record straight. Let's get right into this Braga game. Benfica hosted Braga in the Portuguese Cup game, in a game that we felt that it was going to be a tough game. Benfica lined up with Trubin, Auschnes, Silva, Otamendi, Morato, Neves, Kokshu, Di Maria, João Mário, Rafa, and Cabral. Interesting game here for Benfica. Always difficult to come up against Braga. Braga, who had a game against, what was it, Famalicão? No, Vitória.
Guimarães that they drew late.
Yeah, they had that game against Vitória, which they drew late. So that was always something that that we were talking about, Dave, in terms of how does that impact Braga, right? And it seems that now that fast forward a week, right? They've gone down a rabbit hole. They lost to Benfica. They lost to Porto and deserved Porto, and not that against Benfica wasn't deserved, obviously, but But it was an interesting game. It was an interesting game, and Benfica practically started the game on the back foot with Braga scoring in the 8th minute. Benfica called back one in the 42nd minute from Rafa on a Kokshu assist. And then in the 45th minute, before the players headed to the locker room, Cabral got on a score sheet from an assist from Muratu. And Dave, let me ask you about this. Did you always know that Cabral had it in him? Because for me, clearly the best game that he's had with the Benfica jersey.
The best game that he's played so far. But while I was researching, doing my research for this podcast, every game that Cabral has played against Braga, he scored against them. So last year, I believe with Fiorentina, he played him in the Europa Conference League. Picked up 3 goals against them, and now he didn't play them the first time we played them this season 1-0, but this game he adds to his tally. That's now 4 goals against Braga in 3 matches. So call it what you will, maybe short sample size, but this guy likes scoring against Braga. But, yeah, good to see from him. I know he's probably feeling the pressure now with Marcos Leonardo coming into the mix. But it's good to have healthy competition, and as long as we have all these strikers producing, it can only benefit us here as we approach the second half of the season.
Yeah, for sure. And it was something that I had mentioned that with Marcos Leonardo coming, right, which was a clear sign for the 3 forwards that we have in terms of, okay, well, you guys are not performing, guys are not scoring consistently. None of you has really pleased Roger Schmidt. We're going to bring another forward that could put the ball in the back of the net, and surely those guys must be feeling the pressure. And I said that on the last podcast. As a matter of fact, I said that this may even spur some of them in terms of, okay, well, there's no way that Benfica is probably going to carry 4 forwards when we only play with 1, right, out of those 3. So I better do something. And Cabral, to be honest with you, he had been progressing. I feel that he's a lot looser. It felt that he was, at times, that he was almost like rusty. That it was you didn't see the fluidity in his movements. And it looks like now that when you look at him, and especially this Braga game, and we'll get into the Rio Ave game because I got a couple things to say about the Rio Ave game and his performance, right? When you look at him, the way he combined with his teammates, the goal that he had, which was it's a classic center forward goal. You get the ball with your back to the goal. You make a move, you find a way to spin around and find a room to shoot, and that's what he did, and he scored. But there was a lot of things that he did well. He seems to be quicker, more fluid in his movements, as I mentioned. He's physical. He holds back the defender, so it's really hard to take the ball away from him. And really, he came out of left field for Benfica, and really he had a performance, maybe like a MVP worthy performance. So Benfica came out strong, but they suffered the first goal against the run of play, as I mentioned, but continued coming at Braga, and we would eventually get that goal. But so many missed passes, and I think that at this point of the season, Dave, I'm a little bit worried because we saw some sloppy play in against Braga. Then against Rio Ave, we saw a lot of missed passes. There's a lot of combination, a lot of movement that the players are doing. But with missed passes, it always takes away from the flow of the game. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah, for sure, especially more in the Rio Ave game, especially when we were playing 11 v 11. But and I know this has been Rogers' de facto starting 11 now here while we've been in this 7 game or 8 game, whatever the streak is at now in terms of winning. So the saying is, don't fix what's not broken.
Right.
But you're starting to see here these last 2 games that there are some areas that need to be in. Um, and not to jump ahead of ourselves, we do get our signing of another left back, which should hopefully um, help us out in terms of combinations and that side of the field there. But yeah, I what's really gonna be interesting is to see what lineup he puts out on Friday against Boavista. If he goes back to his same trusted 11, but I wasn't too pleased, especially in the Rio Ave match. What I saw from the
Yeah. Coming out of the second half, 48 minutes in, another goal allowed from Braga. Braga tied up the game. In the 70th minute, we would go get the go-ahead goal from Auschnitz off of a Artur Cabral assist. So he's not only scoring, but he's also assisting. And the game would
he
eventually.
loves his back to the ball
Yeah.
and like doing those tricky plays. He's got a big ass, right? So he's good at shielding the ball and doing those pirouettes too, and those back heel passes or sometimes back heel goals. And this time it was a pass. You don't really see that too often from a striker, but good on him for setting up Arshness. And credit Arshness with that finishing too. You don't often see that from him, and cool, calm, and collected got us the goal.
Yeah, I mean, Tuchel with the heels and the assists and the spin moves. I mean, where's this guy been? Where all these moves been? Is this what we're in for? But certainly, the people that have seen him play at Basel and play at Fiorentina saw some of these flashes in him. But now it's a matter of consistency from him. But again, not a very good 15 minutes of the second half by Benfica, which allowed Braga to claw one back. But certainly, the lack of high pressure by Benfica and allowing Braga to have the ball was something that proved to be challenging. We won the game, and I think that we won the game and we deserved the game, but I think that there was a lot of things that could be improved, as Dave mentioned, especially on the passing and the sharpness aspect of it. I wanted to really say something about, and you guys have heard me here, and you guys also know that I'm not a supporter of Rafa's renewal, right? And the reason for that is because he's inconsistent. I think that the amount of money that he wants, not that I know, but I'm thinking that it's a higher amount. That is something that Benfica is a little bit hesitant in terms of a 30-year-old whose game depends a lot on speed. And as you grow older, that speed will eventually or will subside little by little as you grow older. So I'm not a big fan of Benfica signing or renewing with Rafa, right? So there's been mixed signals, nothing from the club. Rafa has left some hints in terms of, I'm leaving. But the way I look at Rafa, the way he's been playing, I mean, he's been on fire the past few games, and I have to admit that, right? And I think that I'll be a hypocrite if I didn't mention that, right? But the way I was thinking about this, and it's almost like that newly single guy that is no longer attached was with this girlfriend for a long time, and now he's single, right? So he's starting to go out. He puts on his Dracar Noir, best pair of pants, slick shirt. He's got the gold chains. He's got the earrings, and he's just going to the bar, and he's just sitting there like trying to pick up chicks, and like how usually just breakups, there's always boyfriends or girlfriends that said, man, I used to be good with him. Maybe I'll get him back. And now they're out there being single, and you kind of feel like you got FOMO. So I don't know. Maybe maybe that's what it is. Rafa is finding himself single again in the market, or he's just putting himself out there. But for real, he's been off the charts in terms of his performances. He's scoring goals. You don't see him miss as many goals as you were seeing in the past few months. So he's really at the top right now, and it's good. What do you think, Dave? You think he's playing for the renewal, or you think he's playing to put himself in a good position to have more suitors?
He can be playing for the renewal. He can be playing for his mother. He could be playing for Mother Teresa. As long as he's putting up performances like this, I don't care who he's performing for. And really, it doesn't matter whether or not we sign him or not. This is a win-win situation, the way I look at it in our books. If he's playing for a new contract and he doesn't get it from us, at least we got the performance out of him. Thank you very much. Hopefully that leads to a championship at the end of the season. But what we saw from him before he ever this all really started after he did that flash interview after he got the man of the match, and he kind of dropped the hints that he's gonna miss his teammates. But ever since that, the 5 games since then, 3 goals and 6 assists for Rafa, really. So if he's got that extra motivation, he's got that little fire in his belly there, good on him. And like I said, this is really not a lose for us, right? We're getting the performance out of a player that we depend upon. There's no denying that. We said that, right? This team depends on Rafa. But really, I don't care. I'm in the same boat as you, Alfredo. I'm good if they don't re-sign him at the end of the year, as long as he keeps doing this keeps up with this performance, and we keep on picking up the victories. It's a win-win in my eyes.
Yeah, I mean, let him play out the end of his contract to the best of his ability. I mean, as a loyal servant of the club and as somebody that's employed by the club, that's your commitment is to finish out the contract in the same level that you've been. Not that you're going to tail off, but certainly, look, there was a lot of criticism. I think that there's some mixed signals, as I mentioned, that Rafa is putting out there. From the club, no word on the club. I feel, and I could be wrong, right? I feel that if the club had intent to sign him, that they would have done it by now. They're not going to go until March, April to resolve the situation. That's what I feel. I don't know if
they would have done it by now, and then they also wouldn't have been signing these younger strikers from Argentina that are supposed to be coming in January. So
there's a question. There's a question here by Elder Piver. Says, how will Sheldrup fit into the squad next season? I was thinking that he'll replace Rafa. Look, you got Sheldrup out there. You got Prestiani. You got Rollheiser. That is.
Gouveia.
You got Gouveia. We know for a fact that Di Maria is gone. Right, I think that's already a foregone conclusion. And if we could send him on his way with a championship, I think that he would appreciate, and we would appreciate Di Maria also. I think that at this point, I think that there's a planning by Benfica in terms of what the future of this club is going to look like, or the future of the squad is going to look like. And certainly, if Rafa is not going to be part of the setup, Gonçalo Guedes is going away. We're left with this group of young players that we have acquired, and that we feel that are planned for the future. So that's where I think that Benfica is at right now. We're planning, we're seeing things. I think we're being smart in terms of addressing some of those needs, or preparing a succession plan. And some people may say, well, fuck, we need a right back. Where's our right back? Why can't we go get a right back? The left back situation, that's been solved, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But certainly, there's a lot of young talent out there. We don't know how Sheldrup is going to come back. We're hoping that this year that he's been out on loan, and certainly he's been putting performances that are to be called for and to be appreciated. So we don't know, but I think that there's a certain level of maturity that Sheldrup got to from being in Lisbon, first time away from his country. Wait, no, first time away from Scandinavia. I could say that because he's Danish. Is he Danish?
Norwegian.
And he was playing in the Norwegian league. It was like something weird between him and Kasper. Kasper was Danish and he was playing in the Norwegian league. And Sheldrup was Norwegian and he was playing in a Danish. Something crazy like that. I can't remember now.
Yeah, you had it right. He's Norwegian playing in the Danish league.
Right. So I think that this year is kind of served up for him to mature, and I hope that when he comes back to Benfica in the summer, that he recognizes that there's value here, there's potential, and I need to show my potential in order to earn a space in this team. We don't know what Bresciani is going to bring. He's a young talent, but I mean he's 16. He'll be 17 at the end of this month, Dave. So we can't.
The other way. He couldn't sign until he was 18.
Oh, okay.
So he was already 17, turning 18 on the 31st, and then that's when the deal gets finalized.
Right. So that's when we sign him. So we don't know. Young player coming out of Argentina. We have high hopes for him. So certainly you got to be looking at guys and think we got to put some kind of succession plan here because Di Maria is gone. Rafa will most likely be gone. Right now we got Gouveia, really, which is the other winger. Who else could play wing?
We forgot about Nedish.
Okay,
so
Nedish.
He's
Nedish
hurt
is
right
there.
now, but
right.
He'll
but
there,
still, that's
hopefully.
if Di Maria leave and Rafa leaves, that leaves us two natural wingers. So that there has to be a plan put in place to keep the succession plan and keep the team going. But I'm getting off on a tangent here, Dave. Wrapping up. So Benfica won the game. On to the next stage. You want to give some stats? And the draw also took place a couple days ago.
Yesterday or
it was yesterday.
Yeah, I think it was yesterday morning. Yeah. So we'll now face Vizela in the quarterfinals of the Taça, and then from there. On our side of the bracket, if we get past Vizela, we'll play the winner of Leiria Sporting. Then another quick stat here: Roger against the other big three in Portugal this season: 2 wins against Porto, 1 win against Sporting, and now 2 wins against Braga.
Yeah. So, and I was looking at the draw for the Portuguese Cup actually in. Benfica, they drew Vizela.
We've had the hardest
road, Dave.
The final. It's not even.
Holy shit, man!
The other side of the bracket has the other two.
Santa Clara, right?
Santa Clara against Porto, right? And then Gil Vicente and Guimarães are playing on that side of the bracket.
And then
Sporting got Leiria.
Porto
got Santa Clara.
Vizela with us. And if we beat Vizela, then we play Sporting in a time that we may end up playing Sporting 6 times this year. 6, and the semifinals for the Portuguese Cup are a 2-legged affair.
2 legs.
So that means that if we get past Vizela and Sporting beats Leiria, that we will have a home and away fixture against Sporting for a place in the finals at the Jamor, if it gets played at the Jamor.
And the way they no, we would play them in the semifinals. I thought we were going to be playing them in the finals because I was going to say the way the season's shaping up to be, looks like it's going to be a 2-horse race here with us in Sporting, but get ahead of ourselves and we would meet them in the semifinals, not the finals.
Yeah, but you also got the Taça da Liga Final Four. That there's a chance that if we win against what you got, Estoril, We win
Yeah, and
against
then
Rio.
Braga and Sporting on the other
And
side.
Braga and Sporting beats Braga. That's another game against Sporting. So on the other side, I think that Porto has had an extremely easy draw, and Sporting has had some easy teams. But I mean, if we go for, we'll take a look at the road, but it hasn't been a very easy road for Benfica. Very very tough. Very tough for Benfica. But hey, if you want to win the championship or if you want to win the cup, you need to play everyone and beat everyone that you come to face. So whether you face him now or face him down the road, you got to win. That's simply that. Turning our attention now to the last game of the first round, Rio Ave traveled to Benfica to complete a 3-game homestand for Benfica. So we had we had Braga, we have Rio Ave, and now we have Boavista. So it's a 3-game homestand that way. I'm sorry. So we're in the middle right now. So Rio Ave came to Estádio Luz to play against Benfica. Trubin was in goal. Auschner, Silva, Otamendi, Morato, Neves and Kokshu, Di Maria, João Mário, Rafa, and Cabral. I don't know. Tough game.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dave.
No, I was just gonna say the team looked gassed.
Yeah. But
we're in the middle of this 7-game winning streak, and mind you, it's been a bunch of Monkush that we've been facing with a couple of big squads here and there. But this was a team that just looked gassed. I don't know what it was, if it was playing Braga on 3 or 4 days rest and maybe not taking Rio Ave seriously, but especially the back line there, they couldn't get anything really going or develop any play creatively going forward. The team just looked really gassed, and Trubin again stands on his head. Like, how many times have we said this now, week after week, that this guy is saving us points? When you look at the score sheet, the score sheet is not it does not reflect the match that actually took place. It was definitely not a 4-1 result, and Rio Ave deserved more than that. But Trubin stands on his head in the first half, where it could have easily been 3-1. Yeah, we scored a goal in the first half, 3-1, or going into halftime there. But very, very concerning first half from Benfica, and I felt we were fortunate to only be down 1-1 going into halftime there.
Yeah, it wasn't a good game. I think that when Benfica doesn't have the ability to press high, which is something that Roger Schmidt was known for, especially last year. When Benfica doesn't have that ability, not only are you giving the ball to the other team, and a team like Rio Ave and a team like Braga, and especially Rio Ave, that are good on the ball, that like to play ball on the feet, that combine well, that construct well, that get past the whatever first line of defense from Benfica was. I thought that they played extremely well. And when you look at the Rio Ave game and also you look at the Aroca game, right? Aroca played at Estádio Luz, and they finished the game with more possession than Benfica. And now with the Rio Ave game, another situation where we give up a goal in the 9th minute. Trubin makes a couple saves inside the first 25 minutes that kept the game at bay, because had we allowed the goal during that period where Trubin made those 2 saves, coming back from 2 goals is very difficult. It's extremely difficult, especially when we noticed that the team was gassed towards the end of the game, or towards that after the first quarter of the second half, the team just looked gassed. Fortunately, Trubin made those saves in the 29th minute. Di Maria will get the equalizer off of an assist from Rafa. And really, we went into the locker room and we were just lucky. We were just lucky. But it was an uninspired half by Benfica, missing lots of passes again, giving Rio Ave space and time with the ball. And Rio Ave gets to the goal with ease, and Benfica's passiveness. Somebody was saying, Eldar Paiva was saying, worst game of you've seen Morato play. I agree. Awful game. Not only for Morato, but for some other guys. I don't think Otamendi has been the same since the Christmas break. And I don't want to really speculate anything here. Older player, but he just hasn't been that flawless center back leader in Benfica's defense. I think that he's turned the ball over quite a bit. Has had some shaky plays. Let's just hope that he could turn it around. But it was just difficult. Benfica's goal came from a counter, and it sparked a bit of a change in mentality in terms of the way the team was playing, but nothing that could be materialized in more goals. We were fortunate. Well, not fortunate. It was a nice play between Di Maria and Rafa to get the equalizer. But again, we weren't the better team that first half. Second half, Rio Ave, it's the upright in the 46 minutes. They hit the upright again in the 49th minute. In the 59th minute, second yellow card for their center back, which would gave Benfica the advantage of one more man on the field. And I think that from then the story became something other than what we had seen up until that point. Rio Ave lost a man, had to drop lines, couldn't press Benfica, had a hard time finding that extra player. Benfica was better defending. Antonio Silva gets in the 61st minute, he gets the go-ahead. Then a few substitutions. Gouveia for Di Maria, Florentino for Coxu, Leonardo for Cabral. And clearly a sign, it's position for position, and clearly a sign that these guys are gassed out. Di Maria almost never comes out in the 60 that early in the game, let alone Schmidt making substitutions that early. But yeah, I was surprised that Marcos Leonardo played, to be honest with you, because last week I'd said I didn't expect him to play. Because I really felt he was off season in Brazil. The season was finished, and I just thought that he had to get to the physical levels that are going to be acceptable, that are going to allow him to play in a competitive match. But I guess Schmidt and his team had another assessment, and he was in. In the 80th minute, he would get his debut goal. That would put Benfica up by 3-1 off of an Auschwitz assist. And Dave, we could clearly see he's not in shape yet, right? But understanding the value that Benfica paid for him, I think it was 18 million or something around that number. But understanding the value that Benfica paid for him, young kid, first time in Europe, wanting to make an impression, getting a goal on his first appearance takes a lot of pressure off of you.
For sure. We've seen it the exact opposite with Cabral, right? What was it? Agent 007, 7 games with no goals and no assists, right? So now you see the complete opposite in Marcos Leonardo, right? Couldn't have written this script better. I think Roger knew what he was doing there. You're playing against a Rio Ave team that's short a man. You're playing at home. You have the advantage. I think it wasn't necessarily a pressure cooker situation. So
yeah,
you could throw him in there, get accustomed with his teams and how they play in a real live match situation. So I credit Roger and more specifically that he made his substitutions, like you said, in the 62nd minute, and not waited to the for his first sub in the 75th, and then the rest in the 89th when he throws everything to the wall. But good on Roger for reading that situation, and good on Marcos Leonardo for getting on the score sheet, getting that pressure, not even letting the pressure build, and just hopefully it just continues smooth sailing from here.
Yeah, but to be able to get a goal on your debut, certainly it takes away from that pressure, especially getting that first goal, because as a forward, that first goal is always your entryway and almost like your acceptance by the fans, because up until that point, there's always a little bit of doubt and second guessing from the fans in terms of who's this guy, what value is he going to add. And certainly getting that goal is a step in the direction of being accepted and fulfilling what the expectations are in terms of what the club has for him, and going and getting him into Brazil and paying that type of money. So I think that it was a good thing for him. It was a good thing for him, and I think that all the fans were happy because we've been missing a lot of goals. We need guys that can put them away. And then in the 90th, João Mario off of a Rafa assist for 1 put the game away. But the game really changed after the red card for Rio Ave. But again, poor start of the second half with Rio Ave having 2 chances to score. The game became easy for Benfica after the ejection, as I mentioned.
Which were fair ejections, right?
Yeah, no, I think you can't really point anything at the referee, right? I think that they were trying to make the case of, well, the first foul, it was really his first foul. He shouldn't have gotten a yellow. Look, a yellow card foul is a yellow card foul, regardless of whether if it's in the 3rd second or in the 92nd minute. If it's a foul for a yellow card, you get a yellow card, and the handball it's a foolish play by a veteran player. So it really, through what Rio Ave had been doing up until that point, it really went down the hill, and I don't think that Rio Ave was able to recover from it. I thought that they deserved a better scoreline. I think that 4-1, as we've been saying here, both games, both against Braga and against Rio Ave, the scoreline is not reflective of what the game was, especially against Rio Ave. I thought that it was a much closer game than the 4-1. And granted, after the ejection, it was all Benfica, but still, Rio Ave had some very good chances in the first half. They have 2 good chances to open up the second half, and they were just unlucky that they weren't able to convert. But really, something that I saw that the team gassed out, and I think I don't know if I'm looking at this, Dave, and I'm thinking there has to be, Roger has to know that players are not as fresh going into this game as you would think so, right? Because we have Benfica Lab, we have all these guys doing all these tests and all these measurements in terms of player performance. There has to be somebody that says, hey, these guys are only going to be able to go 45, maybe 50, maybe 60, and which explains the early subs, right? But at some point, and now with the games starting to get fast and furious, right? Now with the League Cup, the Final Four being played next week and next weekend, and then we're getting into February also, where at the end of February we'll have Europa League. I think that Roger needs to start looking at the squad and see where he can rotate. I think that João Mario deserved some bench time. I think that Di Maria could see a little bit of rest too. I think it would be good for him. I think it would re-energize him. But I think we really need to Roger needs to start managing the squad a lot better in terms of how he rotates, in terms of player stamina and what they could give. I understand that losing a player like Gonçalo Ramos takes a lot away from what your MO has been last season in terms of the high press and pressing guys and Di Maria and João Mario are not your guys that are going to press the defensive line of for the other team. So you kind of have to adjust a little bit to that. But there's guys that you kind of they need a little bit of a break, in my opinion. I think it would do them well. But again, sloppy.
And we're not here clamoring for a whole change of
No.
a starting 11 either, right? Because
No.
that just throws the players right off. But yeah, a player or two here, I think that only benefits the squad, especially after what we saw against Rio Ave and the sluggishness and just poor execution in passing and development in plays there. I think the whole squad would benefit from a rest.
Yeah.
No controversy, no nothing.
Yeah.
It's just
No, it's
resting the guys. If we need them to come off the bench, great.
Yeah.
But
You're rotating the
hopefully
squad.
yeah, hopefully Roger. But that hasn't been Roger's mo since he's been here. Once he has his favorites, he sticks to them, right? And when we struggled at the beginning of this season, it's almost that I don't know if it was one that Roger. He said here that Roger didn't know the players yet to play his system or to. He was still tinkering with his system and then also with that we were playing every 4 days, right? And like you alluded to, well, we're kind of ramping back up here now at the end of January and leading into February. So I hope it's not something not time to ring the alarm bells that when we start playing every 3-4 games, this team's quality decides to go down. Hopefully that's not the case, especially with these guys that we're bringing in as reinforcements, and we can rotate a player here and there, but concerning so far after these last two matches from what I've seen in terms of
Yeah, and the excuse last year was that you didn't have the squad. This year you have options. And I think it was Nuno M that was saying here, he said, I don't think we should sign I'm sorry. I lost the one. Tino needs to start and Kokshu in for João Mario. I don't understand him sometimes. Yeah, like that's something that's already been tried. We all know that Kokshu is in a way playing out of position. That's a position that he's kind of had to learn because he used to play a lot higher on the field with more freedom. I think the few times that we've seen him drift out or come and fill João Mario's spot when João Mario has been put on a bench, we've seen good things from Koksu with the ball in his feet in an isolated position with another defender, and he's been able to do really good things from that. And I think that's the way you gotta look at things. Tino is somebody that has a huge lung that you could lean on him in terms of the effort that he's going to put out. I thought when he came in against Rio Ave that he had a very good game for the time that he was on the field for, and I think that that Roger Schmidt needs to start getting creative. Gouveia has been getting a lot more time. I know that Neres is on the verge of being back, both Neres and Ba. So there's going to be options that are going to come into play. But I think that right now you have guys on the bench that you give the weekend off to a guy like João Mario. You give the weekend off to a guy like Di Maria, or you give him half off or whatever. And that's how you going to get longevity from these players for the rest of the season. Because other than that, you're just gonna run them into the ground. You're gonna run them into the ground because the schedule is going to get tougher and tougher. Dave, win against Rio Ave. That was the most important thing, especially with Braga playing Porto and Sporting already having won their game. So it was important. It was important. Stats on a game so we can move.
Yeah, Di Maria's first league goal since September, since his goal against FC Porto there. So he doesn't offer us much defensively, so whenever he can score and help us out, it's greatly appreciated. Like we said, Marcos Leonardo scores on his debut for Benfica. He joins a list of strikers in recent history to score on their Benfica debuts, including Waldschmidt, Gonçalo Ramos, Carlos Vinicius, and Seferovic. in good company, and hopefully he just continues scoring from there.
Yeah, Josh Almeida is saying Trubin, the difference maker for sure, man. And Diego Reis had said that at the end of this half, we only 2 points. I think we have 2 points less than we had last season. And I think a lot of that you could look at what Trubin has done the past few weeks, and you could probably say that a lot of that you could attribute to Trubin and how he's been. He's a big time goalie. He's a big team goalie, and that's the difference. Is that when you're called, you might be 90 minutes just scratching your balls, but when you call to action, you're there, man. You're there and you respond at a very high level, and that's what Trubin has done. And he's saved our asses a few times now in past games. But yeah, he's been a difference maker. But yeah, I think that the Sporting is 9 points ahead of what they if I'm recalling correct, 9 points ahead of what they did last season at the halfway mark. So definitely a lot more consistency from Sporting in terms of what they've done this first half. And Benfica too has had consistency. The biggest thing for us is that we have lost points against teams that on paper we were much better and we were supposed to win. We should have never lost that game in Boavista to start the season. But certainly other games that we tied against teams that were weaker than us, that's the difference. And the difference is also beating Porto, beating Braga, beating Sporting this first round.
You would think, right, on paper, like I said, Rogers got a great record against the main competition, but if we can't beat the Monkush, the quote-unquote Monkush that we're supposed to be beating, that really is the big difference at the end of the season, right? Because how many times have we've been crowned champions and Porto and Sporting both beat us at head-to-head during those seasons. Yeah. But consistency throughout the rest of the season where we pick up points against the Monkush and they might drop a point here or there, right? Yeah. So looking into the second half of the season, we can't be affording draws or losses to these Monkush going forward.
Yeah. Nuno M is also saying Guga is better than Chiquinho. Yeah. I think that Guga is Chiquinho 2.0. I think he's a good player. He's a versatile player, but I just don't think that he's had some serious injuries in his career while he was at Benfica youth level, and I think that really set him back. But the technical ability that he has, but he's just not. He's a player that I feel that he has a ceiling. He's just like Shaquille, that he's a guy that can make do, but he's not a guy that is at the caliber to be able to start for Benfica. I think he's a good depth guy on a team like Benfica. Rumor has it that he's about to sign a big contract and go to China, so good for him. Turning our attention now to Boavista. Benfica will play Boavista this Friday, so Benfica is bringing the game forward because we're playing Estoril on Wednesday in the Final Four of the League Cup. Friday, 8:15 local. Dave, what's Boavista up to?
They're currently in ninth with 20 points from 5 wins, 5 draws, 7 defeats this season. Prior to this past weekend's 4-1 victory against Vizela, Boavista were winless in their last 9 across all competitions. 3 draws and 6 defeats. And like we said, Boavista were the only team to have beaten Benfica during the first round of the Portuguese.
Yeah, and Boavista's been up and down all season, right? So everybody's aware of their financial troubles. Everybody was aware of the fact that players haven't gotten paid or didn't get paid for 3 months. Going home to take a shower because there was no hot water in the stadium. like deplorable conditions, obviously for a professional squad, and I think they've done pretty well, but that has also been reflective of their form throughout the season, right? So after beating Benfica, they went on a 5 game run where they didn't lose a game. Um, After that, it's been mostly losses and a few ties. Uh, so it's they're a team that they have the talent to do a lot more. They just tied Porto, if I'm not mistaken, right? I think
Yep,
they've
1-1
yeah. So I mean
2 weeks ago.
they're a team with talent, but certainly the conditions in which they've been put on by the club haven't really been the best, and you kind of have to praise their commitment that because if I'm in a contract and I'm not getting paid for 2-3 months, I mean that is a tough situation. That is a tough situation to be in. But yeah. So
They don't have Petit there anymore too. They're on
right.
they let go of him midway through the season. And really they're for a team that's ninth in the Portuguese league, like you're saying, you got to give all the credit to the players.
Yeah.
This is all on the players and nothing to do with the board or the side or whoever's running the Boavista as a club, because it's a joke in the first division of the Portuguese league, not getting paid your wages and
Yeah.
not paying training staff, equipment staff, the groundskeeper, and the utility bills. It's a joke. With like Portugal, last I checked, is not a third world country. They should be able to pay their bills in the first division
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
the league. So this is a credit to the players. I hope they're all rewarded in some way, whether it's their next contract away from the sham of a club. But this is, you got to give credit to the players, because this is a complete farce. What's going on there?
Yeah, it's a sad situation, and as we mentioned, that it's commendable that the players have stuck around, and I don't know if there's been some promises in terms of we'll pay you 2 months that we had in arrears, right? I don't know if they're waiting for the winter transfer market to sell somebody, and to make some money so they could also pay players and pay some bills. I know that the Malheiro kid was initially being targeted by Benfica, but it seems that it now has gone cold because the Boavista president wanted a lot more money than what Benfica was willing to pay. So that's kind of gone cold. I don't think that Benfica is going to sign him. So
he's also injured now too, as well.
That's right. He's injured. He will be injured for this game. So it's going to be an interesting situation with Boavista. But nonetheless, Dave, no team needs motivation to play Benfica. No team. And we often say that when we, after watching Benfica's games and we look at the opponents and said, if this is the level that this team shows up every week to play, this team wouldn't be in the position that they're in right now in the table. And that's the thing. The thing is that everybody gets up to play Benfica under the bright lights, TV broadcasts, so on and so forth. It's a game that's Benfica's watched in outside of Portugal also. So it's a shop window, right? That you have a chance to showcase yourself. So there's always teams that get up and they don't need extra motivation, and I think that this is going to be the case again. So regardless of whether Boavista is down in dumps in terms of finances and players not getting, they're still going to be motivated to play Benfica. So game happens this Friday at 8:15 local, as I mentioned, as Benfica gears up to play the Final Four next week of the Taça da Liga. Campeão de Inverno, Dave. Campeão de Inverno. few loose items before we go. People are already talking in the chat. So Alvaro Carreras, and initially was Alvaro Fernandes, but apparently it changed to Alvaro Carreras, 20-year-old left back on loan at Granada from Manchester United, has signed a loan deal with Benfica with an option to buy, which I'm also reading that if the player plays at least 50% of the games,
starts 50%.
Starts 50% of the games that are left, that option to buy will become a mandatory option. Yeah, I'm all for it, right? If it's good, right? I was. It's funny because Cristiano's not here, but I was talking to Cristiano beforehand, like maybe about 2 hours ago. I was talking to him, and the one thing that he called me about, he was upset, and the thing that he called me about is like, man, maybe it's just me, but why is Benfica formally introducing a signing at almost at 12 midnight Portugal time? I said, Chris,
yeah, what was
I
it?
don't
Used
know.
to be at 1904, right, in the late afternoon, early evening, and now with these recent signings, it's been right at night, which is not bad for us on this side of the pond. But if you're in Portugal, there you're waiting up late at night to get this announcement like this.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know, but the thing is that, and a lot of us think like that, right? A lot of us, because we follow American sports and we're or North American, I should say, because Dave is in Canada, right? But there's a lot of teams from Canada that play in the leagues that include American teams. Because we're so used to that advertising machine of these leagues and these clubs in the American sports, and we know how much they really pump up. I can't think of the word right now. They just, they create this level of excitement about a signing, right? It's all about a signing. It's all about bringing eyes to watch these presentations, whatever. And when you see something like that, it's like, okay, well, is Benfica not thinking about marketing, not thinking about advertisers, not thinking about the fans? Most of the fans are not even going to be able to see this live, whatever. But I certainly understood what Chris's point was, and I said, well, maybe Rui Costa's got something to do tomorrow, and he can't be present. Or maybe he's got to be at practice at 10 a.m. And what are you going to introduce him at 9 a.m.? Or it's like, still, they can introduce him sometime during the day. It's like, it's not a big deal, but these are the things that Chris stresses about. But yeah, my biggest.
I saw that there was. Go ahead. I think we're touching about the same point. So go ahead.
No. My biggest thing is that he was at Granada. Granada is, I think, either last or next to last in La Liga. Hasn't played a lot of time. You figure that if you're playing for a shitty team, that you get minutes. You get minutes because you rise above the rest in terms of your ability and your skills, right? So I had a couple of reservations about that, and I was talking to Chris about it. But he brought up a great point, right? As a kid that came up with the Real Madrid cantera, right? Joined Manchester United still as a junior. Has been a setup and the use for Spain, right? So the formation, the youth national teams, he's been there. So it's obviously a guy that has pedigree, along with the fact that in Spain, there's always been a very good school for fullbacks in Spain. I mean, you look at all the fullbacks that Spain has produced throughout the years, and you see some really talented guys that were at the top of their game, probably in some of the best teams in the world during those times, right? So it's a kid that has played at a youth level, Obviously, if he went to United as a junior, United obviously saw something. If he was playing for Real Madrid, Cantera, Real Madrid saw something. Real Madrid plucked him from Deportivo de La Coruña, if I'm not mistaken. But look, it's a kid that has pedigree. He's only 20 years old though, so I don't think he's a finished product yet. Is he better than Jurasek? I hope so. Is he going to be better than Morato at the left back position? I hope so. He might not defend as good as Morato, but certainly going forward with the ball and with the ball at his feet and combining and getting vertical, I think he'll be a lot better. So there's high hopes for this kid. Somebody was saying that, do you think that Fernandez will start or be on the bench? Elder Paiva. Elder, I think that he's probably going to be on a bench, but I've been wrong. I've been known to be wrong.
It hasn't been Rogers' MO so far to just throw up.
No, I was even surprised that he played Marcos Leonardo, to be honest with you, Dave.
Yeah. It hasn't been Rogers going back to Trubin had to wait like what? We're 3-4 games until he got his start. Leonardo, it seems like he's the exception to the rule. Coming in on not even first full week coming off the bench here, but with Fernandez or Carreras, whatever we're going by this week, I think we need to temper our expectations. Like you said, he's coming in. He's still very young.
Yeah.
Didn't make too many appearances for
Granada.
For Granada, what am I seeing here? 14 appearances this
400 minutes, I think, something like that.
So, what I wanted to ask you, and because I've seen some people going back and forth on Twitter in terms of the structure of the deal, because United still has a buyback clause. They have priority rights if anybody else wants to sign him and to match the sale, and still take a percentage. So this isn't really a structure of a deal that Benfica is usually doing, right? Because we're used to getting a majority of the pass to the player and looking to already thinking about the next sale and making money off this, where this is clearly a need of, the way I'm looking at it, it's a need on this team. So it's not necessarily worrying about making money and maximizing your profits, though he is still a young player. But I thought it was just a different structure of a deal that we're not used to seeing with Benfica, especially buying a younger player that still has a lot of potential.
No, so it's a loan deal, right?
Loan deal, but then afterwards with the if the option is triggered for $6 million, United still has a buyback clause.
Yeah, I don't know,
and they still have the first right of refusal.
I don't know. I don't know because if that's the contract that Benfica will, if you want to buy the player, that's the contract that's in front of you. Certainly, you're right. It's a deal that it falls outside of what Benfica usually does. But I mean, it's always something that could be renegotiated. So maybe Benfica pays a little bit more and gets more of a percentage. I don't know. But yeah,
when João Neves in the off season there in the summertime, a little bit of wheeling and dealing to get him over
it's
there.
Maybe this is United's way of let's open up the conversations. Let's make sure that both clubs are in a good place in terms of the relationship that the clubs and the partnership that I wouldn't say partnership, but the relationship that the clubs have. Because they might need to be making a move on João Neves towards the end of the season. So I don't know. Musa and Jurasek rumored to be leaving. Rollheiser still being discussed on whether or not he's going to join during the winter transfer window. So I think that there was talks about Gonçalo Guedes leaving. I think if Gonzalo Guedes leaves, maybe we'll bring Rollheiser. And I think that one of the things that Cristiano mentioned is like, yeah, bring him now. Bring him now. Let's get him acclimated. Let's put the adaptation period behind him. And then next season they'll be ready to play. Much like we did with Grimaldo. Grimaldo joined Benfica mid-year. And he didn't play until the last couple games of the season, if I recall correctly. So I understand, wanting to leave him in Argentina, and maybe that kind of plays into, keeping good relationship with the Argentinian club, or even keep the price at a certain level. But I think that you bring him now and you get him used to it. You get him acclimated to the team's dynamics, the team's play. You get him training. You get him adapted to a new reality, which is Europe, different speed of football. So I'm all for it. But I think that it's going to depend on whether or not Gonzalo Guedes goes. So we'll see. And there's been talk about that.
And you also need to think about Europa League registration. You're only allowed to register 3 new players for the winter time. So we bring in Cristiani and Rollheiser on top of Marcos Leonardo and Fernandez here. One of them's going to be left off for Europe for the second half.
Yeah, I just think that, and I could be wrong, right, depending on the kid's talent, but I think that Cristiano is going to spend a lot of time with the B. Just getting acclimated, just getting some reps under him. So we'll see. Dave, that's all I got. You got anything?
That's all I got as well.
I think that covers it, right?
2 games, previewed a game, went through the winter transfer market so far. Freddie's got any questions?
Let me just run through some comments here. Nuno M says this has to be some sort of business with Juan Neves and Silva. Talking about United. Okay, Nuno M says Man United has a buyback. Apparently is 25 to 30%. From what I
25 to 30 million. So
okay.
If they want to buy him back,
from what I heard, since his price tag is really low, it's 6. Yeah, 6 million. Yeah, that's it's a good deal, I think. I hope that he pans out, but certainly there's that one hesitation in terms of, well, he was playing for struggling Granada, but never really got playing time at a team that is doing bad. But he's also a kid that's been in the youth setups for Spain. He attracted he was at Real Madrid. He attracted the attention of Man United. So that there's some things that offset that hesitation at Granada, and I think that even Granada's president today, I read on a ball that he said that the kid was no longer interested in being there. And understandably so. If a team is doing shitty, and you're still not getting playing time, it's a lose-lose situation. Anyway, that's all I got. Dave, always a pleasure. Righties, thank you very much for your support, for being in a chat, for being active. Sorry, with just Dave and myself, it becomes tough to check on a chat and to get the chat involved. I apologize for that. So that's it. That's all we got. Thank you very much for checking us out. Next week we'll be back. We'll recap this Boavista game, and we'll do a big preview of the League Cup Final Four. Happens not this weekend, but next weekend. Take care, everyone. Enjoy your week. Be good to each other. Take care.